Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Luis Alonso. I am research scientist at the City Science Group, MIT Media Lab. So today we are going to talk about city science, how the Cityscope is impacting in Andorra, how the use of the Cityscope has changed a little bit this country, and how the relationship with MIT Media Lab, with our group, has shifted a little bit the Andorran ecosystem. So Andorra is this small, tiny country between Spain and France, and back in 2014 they decided to build a living lab with us, with the City Science Group, and they built one of the first sister laboratories all over the world of our network of collaborative cities. Back in 2018, they already framed their country as a world reference, thanks to the collaboration with us, and thanks to the use of technology, testing technology in the country, change of legislation, and mostly also about thanks to building a team that was able to work with data. So how was the beginning? The beginning, back in 2014, we started with a very small group. We have the energy company, the telecom company, the university, and part of the government, just one Secretary of State working with us. Thanks to these cool synergies that we have at the City Science Group, and the great effort that the Andorrans did, they managed to, in few years, build a collaboration with more than 150 companies in the country through the Chamber of Commerce. They also managed to have collaborations all over the world with several universities, and also big companies like Denso and other members from the Media Lab. Also, they have involved probably almost all the government on this. Most of the ministers, they are working together. So at the end of the day, this was a huge impact on how people start collaborating in Andorra. Also, something that happened in Andorra was like the all the research, different research teams that they had in the country, they cluster all of them in Actuatech, that is our lab. So the sister lab that we built over there became a bigger, the seed of the new research body of Andorra. What that means? That means that when they were facing the COVID pandemic, they were ready for that. And that was one of the biggest success that they had. They, as we can see here in Forbes, they are saying, Andorra was ready. So US can learn a little bit the lessons of Andorra. With Andorra, thanks that they were able to test 95% of the population in the country, and we have the telecom data, we were able to understand how the policies in order to stop the pandemic were impacting the population. Now we are publishing this article that can be read, but everything started with a Cityscope. This is the Cityscope in Andorra, and everything also started thanks to access to the data. So we started to have a huge amount of data from Andorra, from the energy company, the Wi-Fi, the free Wi-Fi on the street, the different Twitters, the shops, the 151 shops, cultural heritage, information, TripAdvisor, Instagram, and we were building all these tools in order to visualize this and this data, and to understand this data, the telecom data, CDR data, RNC data, much finer grain data about the telecom, and thanks to that we start correlating that data. So data by themselves is kind of useless, but as soon as you start correlating telecom data with energy data, or with mobility data, or with shopping data, then we can understand people's behavior. And this is one of the first models that we did about understanding how the behavior of people was impacted in Andorra. The first research was about tourism, but very quickly we moved into clusters of innovation, how people are sharing ideas in Andorra, and how that brings diversity into the country. What places are more diverse than others? So that could help government to make different policies in order to give different offers to the tourists, but also in order to understand much better the dynamics inside of the country. Thanks to that, now the ministers, they can understand perfectly the movement of tourism in the country almost in real time. For instance, we can look into events and understand that some events, these are the summer events like mountain bikes in blue, they are very good because they can bring new visitors, but they have a huge impact into the congestion. In the other side, we have other events that maybe they are not as bringing as new tourists than the mountain bike, like the triathlon masters, that is not bringing new visitors, but people coming to the country, they stay longer and they don't impact, this event doesn't impact that much in the mobility. So that's how we look into the data. Also in terms of winter, we can have the same approach, like how winter events are impacting into the tourism. So we can see like a total flight here is very successful because bringing new people, new tourists, but at the end of the day, they never come back. And there are other events like this that they are not as interesting about for bringing new tourists into the country, but they somehow they bring very loyal tourism. Thanks to that, we built a tool that helped Andorra to buy energy 10% more accurate. Also, they got the capabilities of producing their own Cityscope, the solar Cityscope, in order to understand how energy could be produced in Andorra. And also, we helped them to start building this tool for sharing energy peer-to-peer in a peer-to-peer way. So people producing energy in their own house can share energy with other users. And of course, we built this first approach of the data hub in Andorra, this first data platform that we did with the students, where the ministers could get in and understand all this data in a very easy way. Even with that, this was kind of complex, so the Andorrans, they built a simplified version where you can look into all the data in almost real time. So so here we can see like our model in lab, but at the same time we see like what the ministers they can access when they are in Andorra, and as you can see, they can look into the different times of the day, almost real time, and they can see how the tourists are behaving in the country. Of course, we also are gathering data through sensors. When we don't have access to data, what we do is we use these sensors. And we start with Andorra deploying these sensors in the schools in order to understand environmental impacts, well-being, air quality, etc. But now, thanks to having these sensors in the schools, we are validating some of our simulations based on COVID and how COVID can be spread inside of buildings. So we want to validate our simulations through the CO2 sensors that are being deployed this winter in 2 schools in Andorra, and then that will help us to understand much better how the behavior of people and COVID in rooms. Also, we are building tools so qualitative information can be gathered, and then we can correlate that qualitative information with quantitative information from the sensors. So the students in the school, they can decide the feelings, they can talk about different actions that are happening, and then our sensors are gathering information so we can correlate both. Also, we are mapping the city thanks to apps. The students, we always are missing the opinion of the kids and the other kind of population. So we are gathering this information by just letting the kids walk in the city and map things that they like or they dislike. That is very valuable information for us. Of course, also since Andorra is a living lab, we are testing augmented reality and virtual reality. That's one of the examples that we did a long time ago. But also they changed the legislation so we can have drones, flying drones in the city. That's something kind of unique. Very few places you can fly drones in a city. Also, we start testing the PEV over there, so they changed the legislation so autonomous vehicles can be tested in Andorra. This was a very early version of the PEV. Now, this is how the PEV evolved, and Andorra, they went through all the process. So we deploy also this PEV in Andorra, and now this is the final version of the PEV. So somehow I feel like Andorra, they went through all the process of understanding that technology doesn't grow in a tree. It's a process, and that's very valuable. And finally, we did like a city science summit in Andorra. So this is one of the events that we do every year in one of our collaborative cities. This was the first event that we did. We had 300 people attending. It was like a bunch of companies, international impact with many different stakeholders, and it was a huge success for Andorra. At that moment, they were opening to the world from being let's say much closer society. So thanks to these kind of events, they realized that they can be leaders, and now they are leading they are becoming the capital for the Latin America cities, countries actually, for 2021. So they are leading this international effort of Latin countries that it happens every 2 years. So they are hosting this event in Andorra this year. Thanks that they realize that they are not followers anymore, they are leaders. So thank you very much.